Okay, we've done a sound and vision check. So yeah, hopefully it sounds okay on this. Vision doesn't look too bad. Got my gig lamps on again now because I begin to get one or two headaches looking at the screen so much, and my ophthalmologist chastised me a couple of years ago for not using these watching the telly. Yeah, you'll have read about it in the story about the ophthalmologist or something. It was a funny story. If you missed it, find it. All right. It's about having cataracts and things. And oh yes, it was called Your Eyes Aren't Bionic. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Bit of a comedian. This story is another one from 45 Woodside, London Road, Boston. This one from about 1967-68. What's hiding behind the garage door? There's actually 2 or 3 stories come to mind from Woodside now. Now we've started on the drop tanks. These are before the drop tanks. We weren't at Woodside a long time. We got married in 65. I think we moved into the Woodside house in 66. And that's when I changed jobs. And I went to work for Stanwell's, EC Stanwell's, at their Main Ridge garage. And good job I got the mortgage because my wages dropped. I was going to work for, I hoped to work for Firestone, and my boss said, you know, get some experience in the motor trade. And so a job came up while I was at the Standard. I was reading those advert pages, as you will have read, on a Wednesday night before publication day. Or I read all the adverts, every kind of advert, to check them and make sure they were in the right places and everything. On a Wednesday night, up to about 11 o'clock at night, before publication on a Thursday, to make sure all the classified pages were classified in the correct places. That was one part of my job. So, I saw all the adverts before anybody else. Yeah, literally. Once they'd been put together, it was me who read them first. So, there was this job came up as a car salesman for Stanwell. So, I bit the bullet and I went for it. And I got the job. I've been at the Standard, I don't know, 6-7 years. And I got told off a lot. I enjoyed it though. But anyway, it went to Stanwell's. Anyway, the job, I was only at Stanwell's a year. And the Firestone job came up. And I managed to get it. I'll write about that as well because that's quite amusing. My boss at Stanwell's wasn't too happy because he sent me on 2 training courses at Roots Group. One was selling cars, the other one was selling lorries. I suppose it must have cost him a bob or two, but he never paid me any commission. Oh, you know, I'm writing, well, I'm not writing this because this is completely out in the head. This is not written down. It's in book 2, but not like this. All right. Yeah, there's a bit in the news about the Labour governments in England, end of October 2024. The Labour government have taken over England, and their first budget has caused a furore. Well, that's in a court case because car salesmen used to get commission when they sold cars on hire purchase. And this was on the go when I was selling cars in 1966, although I never saw any money. I did sell some cars on hire purchase, but the commission never came to me. It always stopped at the boss's desk, as did the tax disc. You know, he promised me a car. You'll always be able to go home in a car, mate, you know, because, yeah, you'll always have a car, mate, you know, to go home. Anyway, I never did. I was on my bike more often than not. As soon as the car came in, he cashed in the tax disc in a second-hand car. Tax disc was off to the tax office and he claimed the money, you see. Well, you could do that in those days. So if the car had got 6 months tax or something on it, that never stayed on the windscreen. Off it went because it was cash. Yeah, he was always keen on cash. Right, back to Woodside. We're on about a story about what's hiding behind this garage door. And there's several stories. Another one's just come to mind about Firestone. Anyway, as I was riding around South Lincolnshire in the 1960s, late 1960s, selling tyres for Firestone. Their company car is on the drive there on that photograph, 105e Anglia. So when I took over from the previous salesman, after that I had a Mark 1 Escort, 1100 Escort. That was a flyer. After that I had a 1250 Avenger, and then I left after that. Firestone was getting very ropey. So riding around Lincolnshire and North Cambridgeshire, then I used to call on a lot of garages to try and persuade them to sell tyres and help them with tyre promotions and help them to sell stuff off their forecourt. You know, it was all part of our job to help to earn them more money, you know, using their site, promoting their site, the petrol stations and that, to earn more money for themselves. So that was part of my job, apart from calling on commercial users and tyre dealers. And so I used to see a lot of second-hand cars. There's most garages, even today, you know, this is like 2024, and you got cars on the forecourt, you know, which they want to sell you, but behind the garage there's often cars that they don't want to sell you. You know, the not so good cars, the ones that were very, very trade in and on the last leg sort of thing. Not all. And I did buy a few cars like that. I bought a 105e Anglia for Ruth in about 1973 and did it up. It was a good car. My brother-in-law had it after Ruth. But this is all about an MG. My first MG, first ever. An MG TA. 1968, 67, 68, things weren't, you know, high value. 1966, I was earning £27 a week with Firestone. That was a bloody good wage, you know. I'd gone up from £10 a week selling cars and a bit of commission if you can get it. I thought I was on a bit more than that at the Standard before I left, but £10 a week at Stanwell's. And then I got the job at Firestone for £27 a week and a company car and an expense allowance for lunch for entertaining customers, plus a car wash allowance and all the petrol you needed. You know, I never paid for petrol. So I always have my eye open for something unusual. And I was travelling one day down towards Bourne. I used to have parts of the county that I used to travel in an area every week. The same day I was in a certain area, and Thursday was my Bourne and Stamford day. There's a story about Thursday was my Stamford day, quite a funny story. And I think I was coming home actually, and going through Bourne. There's a very well-known MG garage in Bourne called Halls of Morton, just north of Bourne, out of Bourne, on the way up to Sleaford or to Boston, back home. And outside this garage was a blue MG, a TA. I don't think it had a roof or anything. And by God, it caught my eye, you know, because MG TA, that was the sports car, wire wheels, 19-inch wire wheels. It had a 1275 overhead valve engine with overhead cam. An overhead cam engine in it was 1936. It was a 1936 TA. So I called in, and I'm not sure, you know, I'll have to check up on this, but I can't remember whether in 1967, 68 you had MOT tests. I think probably they did. Buy this car, and I look at this car. It was rough. I mean, it was very rough. It went. The engine went, but I don't think the brakes were very good. It needed a lot of work. But yeah, the doors open and closed and everything. Oh, it was all there. Spare wheel, slab petrol tank, MGTA. And the same chap that sold it to me, he's still there at Halls. I can't remember his first name. I'll look it up. If he sees this, you can't do anything about it, because this was the value of things in 1968, 68, 78, 88, 98, 2008, 2018. That's 50 years. 18, 19, 20. That's it. 56 years ago. Things weren't so expensive, It's before the Arabs, shot up the price of oil. I mean, this time, I think you're probably on 4 gallons of petrol for £1, maybe 3. Time this is going. In 1962, 63, you could get 5 gallons of jet petrol for £1. And that's how I could afford to run a car. 5 gallons for £1. 5 gallons for £1, not 5 litres. 5 gallons. Anyway, at this time, 1968, it'd be about 3 gallons for £1, I think. So anyway, I called in at Halls, and there was this car. No, I just couldn't let it go. I couldn't drive past without buying it. So I bought it, and I said, right, I don't know whether I left him some money there and then. Maybe I did. Maybe I had to. But I think I was back either that night or the night before with my neighbour, Peter Squire. Peter was Ruth's boss. He was the charge nurse in charge of the orthopaedic block at London Road Hospital. And he was a really, really nice chap, and he was game for anything. He died young, poor old Peter. We'll get a picture of him in a minute. But I took Peter, went out and told Ruth I'd seen this car, and why she was for it. So I went back that night with a rope, length of string, if you like, and Peter was up for it. And we towed it home. I paid 45 quid for it. Would you believe it? 45 quid. Yeah. And Peter and I did it up. We got it on the road. If it had to have a test, we got it through its test. And we got it in that garage. That's in that garage. What's hiding behind that garage door was an MGTA picture coming up. We got wheels off and took everything off that had come off, and brakes off, and boxed it all up. Peter helped me with it all. It was great fun because the thing's so simple. It was a wonderful thing. There's nothing to them. It's a wood frame body, metal covered. I think it's tin covered, not aluminium. Tin covered. Plywood floor. Proper chassis. And yeah, brilliant. So we did it up, and it was Ruth's runabout. She used to go to Cubs in it and pick up John Atterby's wife on the way to Cubs on a Tuesday night in Boston, see Cubs. Everything went. I mean, it was wonderful. Mind you, she had to have blocks on the pedals because it's such a long reach to the pedals underneath that dash and everything. She had wooden blocks, bolted through with 2 bolts on them, and a piece of Meccano or something behind that to hold them on the pedal so she could reach all 3 pedals. Otherwise she couldn't reach them because she's only 5 foot and a bit. Yeah, and it was her runabout until Helen arrived. Now we're going back we're going back a year or two. So until Helen arrived, and then we couldn't get the carry cot in it. So and then we were looking about ECYB and moving boats and things. So I sold the car to a chap at Holbeach something or other, back end of Holbeach. Oh, there's an aerodrome near Holbeach, or it used to be, and I think he was there. And I came across him through the motor trade and everything because Holbeach was on my patch, and I got him to build me a trailer. A breakback trailer. It's the trailer I use for the drop tanks. It tilted, so you could actually, it was my design, so you could actually load a boat, providing it was a bilge keel yacht, for instance, or a chine keel motorboat. you could load it off the ground with this. Must keep look at the camera. You could load it off the ground with this trailer and a winch, and gradually pull it up with rollers and things onto the trailer without a crane. Anyway, this chap, I can't remember his name. He built the trailer, all new metal, twin axles, brakes, everything, and I gave him the MG, the TA, the blue one. And that was the end of that. It wasn't the last TA though. We bought another one not long after that. So maybe I'll tell you a story about that. So that's what's we're hiding behind that garage door. There was one funny bit about came out of this. When we were putting the car back together again, after we'd taken all the bits and checked it over and giving a dab of paint here and there, and we're very keen to get it on the road though. We were putting the brakes back together one night, and in the brake box, cardboard box, all the brake bits in, Peter put his hand in, grabbed some brake shoes out of this, and there was some sort of brown smelly mess on the brake shoes. And bloody hell, what the hell's that? And we had a cat called Mac, a great big woolly hairy cat. I'll dig out a picture of Mac sat on our boat in the back garden, and he'd been in this box and done his poo job in it. Poor old Peter brought these brake shoes out, and it had this rather smelly, gooey brown stuff spread all over them. So that was all kinds of funny things happened with Peter and his wife Margaret. Peter built a mirror dinghy in his garage, a garage just like ours. He lived diagonally opposite on Woodside, on the same bit of road as we were in. It's a cul-de-sac. He didn't live, they're all semi-detached, apart from Himsworth. They lived right at the end of the cul-de-sac, and they had a detached house. Peter built a mirror dinghy in his garage. He also went in for scuba diving, and he had a little sort of forgy thing for melting lead down. I don't know where he got lead from, but he was melting lead down to make a weight belt, for his scuba diving. He did that in his garage as well. So there we are. That was what was hiding behind the door of 45 Woodside for several months before it had it on the road. And the pictures here. Hope you enjoyed that. Don't forget, if you like what we're doing, think about giving us a like. How about subscribing? We'd like to get the channel to growing a little bit more. And have a look up here. All the books and things that we produce that you can download free. You can download book 2, Boston 1960 to 1970, and there's reference to this MG in it, plus lots and lots of other funny stories. Download it free of charge. There we are. I think that's, what does it say, 18 minutes now I've been talking to you, so I think that's enough for the moment. Do I keep looking at the camera or not? I'm looking at it now. So until the next time, thanks for being with us, and cheerio.